All right, good morning, guys, on the East Coast. Also, good morning to those of you on the West Coast. I'm your host, Brandon Choi, host and co creator of Movies and Shakers Unlimited. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. If you've been taking a look at our recent promo, you'll know that we do have a music guest joining us today. So, give me one second while I introduce them. All right, so the guests that we have today, they are a seasoned artist when it comes to producing the music of their own. They hail out of Florida. Give me one second while I introduce Alex Moye. What's going on, man?
Brandon, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Well, first and foremost, thanks so much for joining the show this morning. Before we hop into it, how are you? How are things going for you?
Going great, man. Just living the dream, just working every day, just trying to get by. I know days are crazy nowadays with COVID and stuff, but making the most of it. Actually, I would say in my line of work, it hasn't affected us all too much in civil engineering, so things haven't slowed down. So I've been lucky in that regard. But I know a lot of family members have, had to make a bunch of changes to their daily schedule and things. So just trying to make the most of it. But things are going well. Just staying busy with my music outside of that and having a lot of fun with it. How you been?
I'm good, man. I'm good, man. Probably I would ditto everything you just said in terms of everything that's going on out in the world and making the most of circumstances. But with that being said, just hopping right into your background with music. You have the recent single "I Want to Dance," which we'll get into, but rewinding it back a bit and talking about those beginnings with that love of music. I mean, I understand that that pursuit really kicked into gear in high school, but I understand that there's a deep embedded passion for music based on what relatives and family members do in that world as well. So can you speak to that?
Yeah, sure. So I've always been kind of what you said. I've always been uh, in an influence of music just by my family. My dad played in a bunch of bands, and back in the '70s, my older brother, he's played in a bunch of bands. He's actually a very talented audio engineer, so he's still heavily involved in the music industry. So it's something that I've always been close to. So I played in a handful of bands, late high school, early college. I wrote a handful of songs and things, but mostly relied on my band members to do most of the writing. While I would tinker here and there, but I never really took music production all that seriously. I just loved playing live, had a blast doing it. But like I said, I'm a civil engineer too, so that was also kind of I guess I don't want to say my fallback, but that was more or less the goal. It wasn't until I got a little bit older that I realized, like outside of work, I wanted to do something that I could build upon, and I just kind of started going back at my past hobbies and interests. And I really just, I had this pool with music that I just missed it a bunch, and I just wanted to get back into the creative side of things. So for the past couple of years, I just decided to dive into it and just, spend as much time as I could outside of work developing as many songs like because I'm always coming up with these ideas that I hear in my head. I just wanted to start putting them out into the world, I guess. So um, my brother, the audio engineer, he has Ableton, music software. So I downloaded that a few years ago, and I would just pretty religiously outside of work, I would just study it and just learn as much as I could. And I got to a point where I was putting out decent songs. I just kept getting better and better at it. I don't know. It actually started as something that I just wanted to do. Kind of, it was something I wanted to check off my bucket list. I really just wanted to write one song, and I had so much fun with it. I just decided to stick with it, and so here I am about 3 years later. Just I just put out my last single that you mentioned, "I Want to Dance," a few months ago. I think that was in October. And I have 3 or 4 tracks that I'm ready to release over the next couple weeks. I'll probably release them January, February. And then I also have, this hip hop element that I'm starting to implement to some of my tracks that I'll release later in 2021. So been having a lot of fun with it for sure. Oh, Brandon, I lost you. I can't hear you.
That's actually a great segue into my next question. Is thinking of those origins, those inspirations for the most recent single. You've had an opportunity to work on on various other projects with music tracks that you've had. Can you talk a bit about how that has brought us to the most recent single, "I Want to Dance"?
Well, so actually my biggest source of inspiration, I would say, is Avicii. He really there's so I've always been, something that just always attracted me to electronic dance music. I don't know, it was just something about the high energy. It really just kind of, I felt like it was always something kind of positive and uplifting. It could always bring people together. A room full of people who like dancing together, and things that don't necessarily know each other can have a great time together. But Avicii's music, especially, he was just very melody driven, and there's just something very emotional about it that I just kind of, it resonated with me, and it's something I wanted to add on to. So that's mostly what I've been spending my time on for the past couple of years, is that electronic dance music. It wasn't anything I necessarily did in high school, college days when I was playing in bands. It's more like alternative rock and stuff. But for the past couple of years, it's definitely more dance electronic music. But I love hip hop. I love good rap. I'll get down on some karaoke for sure. So I have a lot of fun with it, too. And I've been doing these, just on my free time, even before I started taking music production seriously for the past couple of years. Yeah, years before then, I had been doing this stream of conscious writing. It's just an exercise I learned about. It just kind of helps get your thoughts out. It's pretty therapeutic, I actually find, for me, anyways. So I started doing that, and it's come in handy too when it comes to writing, especially this hip hop style of music that I want to do. So, so that's kind of what I'm looking forward to doing over the next couple months, is uh, kind of stick with my electronic music roots that I have now, but also implement my hip hop kind of R&B stuff that I been having fun playing with as well. So we'll see what we end up coming up with over the next couple months. I have one track that's pretty much done. I really like it a lot. I'm just kind of waiting for the right time to share it with everybody.
Awesome, awesome. And and just in speaking with that whole uh, what EDM is all about, and what it entails, considering the circumstances that we're in now, where we
Yeah.
perhaps don't have a lot of people that are dancing together. Can you talk a bit about that, and making that adjustment in terms of, yeah, I'm assuming there is a lot of time for a lot of ideas to gestate, and provide some time for some creativity, but at the same time trying to pivot and try to navigate the current circumstances now, in lieu of doing EDM music.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, interesting times that we're in right now. I just trying to make the most of it. When I first started releasing music, so I had been producing music for a few years before COVID was around, obviously. And
Right.
then by the time I released my first batch of songs, we were already 2 months into, shutdowns and lockdowns and all sorts of things. So my original plan, at least, yeah, it wasn't anything set in stone, but it was some ideas I have. I was like, all right, I'm going to release some songs, and then I'm going to start putting together a set and start performing live. And then obviously that was completely out of the question. So I just decided, I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to make the most of it. I'm just going to utilize this time to just focus on making as much music as I can. So for what it is, I ended up, being able to switch gears pretty easily. And I don't know, I would say I've made the most of the time that we're in for sure, but it's definitely been odd. I mean, I know that's how most entertainers, most people in the industry, that's their source of income is performing. That's where a lot of the fun is too, is just getting out on a stage and performing live in front of an audience. Honestly, I don't know if you've ever performed live yourself, but like I used to play a lot back in my high school days. Oh man, it's such a high too. It's just like all your friends there, people you don't know, like listening, like singing your songs back to you. So to not have that experience right now, it could definitely I don't know, it's definitely put a burden on the entertainment industry for sure. But like I said, especially with this project I'm working on, I'm still so relatively new to the industry with my own brand, I guess you could call it. That I'm really just trying to utilize the time I have right now, just put out as much music as I can. And I mean, hopefully, I feel like I'm still being kind of optimistic, but maybe this time next year, we'll be kind of getting back to normal state where we can actually go out and play shows and things. And by then, if I, stay the course that I'm on right now, I should have at least another 10, 15 tracks out that I would be able to perform live. So right now, all I'm doing is focusing on what I can control, which is just, putting out good quality music, at least what I consider good anyways. And then once time gets back to a place where we can, actually start playing shows, then we'll consider it. But for right now, it hasn't even really been a thought, just because I know it's like, I know a lot of people are doing like virtual shows and things. And I've put some thought into that as well. But like I said, right now I'm just trying to make as much music as I can. So definitely trying to make the most of it in that way.
Awesome, awesome. And just to, touch further on that, has that, because of those circumstances, also provided you an avenue to branch or to entertain, like creating music outside of that wheelhouse of EDM. So that way, just based on the circumstances, I know that in terms of the music that you create is also geared very more much in terms of creating a mood, and EDM, in terms of that style, being able to create that mood may not necessarily, limit you just to EDM. So, in that time that you right now where you've been had an opportunity to create, has that provided an opportunity for you to kind of brainstorm,
Branch out and do something different.
something
Yeah,
outside?
well, that's kind of what I've been trying to do, is just experiment with different things. So when it first started out, it was supposed to be just electronic dance music. That's what I really gravitated towards when I started producing music. But I guess, yeah, let's assume COVID's not here and we would have stuck to the original game plan, I'd probably be playing, shows, DJing out, like putting together a solid 30-minute set, 1 hour set, whatever it may be. And it'd be predominantly just electronic dance music, just four on the floor, maybe a little bit of, some other, like other genres of songs from, other artists, but not necessarily my own songs. But since I have all this time to produce now that I wasn't really anticipating before, I've been experimenting with other things. So like a lot of the hip hop stuff that I haven't released yet, that I want to release over the next upcoming months, or maybe later, this time next year. I wouldn't necessarily be working on it if I didn't have the time for it. Otherwise, I would be splitting up my time in between producing my electronic music and performing sets out. So because of, the days that we find ourselves in, it's allowed me a lot more time outside of work to just focus on experimenting with different things. Because part of it is, honestly, I kind of get bored doing the same thing over and over again. So it's like, after producing a handful of electronic tracks, I'm like, all right, I'm kind of over this. Like, I think I had a lot of fun with it. It was like, there's so many different genres of music. I have so much, different taste in music, that I want to see what else I can come up with. So I started playing with different sounds and different things. And a buddy of mine, we actually spent a good amount of time producing together as well. And just our two different backgrounds, or two different genres of music that we typically listen to, coming together usually comes up with something interesting, I would say. So and we'll see what I end up releasing over the next couple of months. My first couple of tracks are going to be my electronic songs that I've already finished, and I just need to coordinate with my manager and see exactly how we think it's best to go about releasing them. But as soon as we do that, then I'm gonna kind of switch gears a little bit, and like with these other genres, this other experimentation that I've been doing that you've been asking about, I'm looking forward to putting that out as well.
Awesome, awesome stuff. So that is actually a perfect segue. So we have I Want to Dance Now. As you said, it's been out since October. Can you tease perhaps some things that are on the way? You kind of touched on it just now, but in terms of upcoming slate, things that you're looking forward to, perhaps some collaborations that may be happening. Are you able to comment on what those might be, or maybe they're too early to discuss at this point?
No, I got a couple tracks that so there's an instrumental that I kind of already teased it, I guess, a little bit on my Instagram. But it's a song that actually, so this other kid hit me up on Instagram telling me that he wanted to collaborate on a song, so we started working on this track together. And it ended up being very much inspired by a Martin Garrix track that, by the time I really dove into it and started, building it out, I was like, oh, this reminds me of this other track that I've heard before. And by the time I finished the track, actually, the title of the song, I don't know how much I should give away, but the title of the song is kind of paying homage to Martin Garrix, one of Martin Garrix's tracks. So that'll probably be the first track I release. And then I have another one that's a little more like poppy, radio friendly. And then I actually have a friend that lives in Brazil. He has a friend who's a really good singer. She has this song. It was a really good idea, but the instrumental portion of the production was, it was okay. It just wasn't anything like very wowing. I told them I would dive into it and kind of take a crack at it myself, and it turned out really well. So I have this, I guess, Brazilian Portuguese track that'll be released shortly thereafter. So that'll be an interesting one to put out and see how people receive it. I honestly don't even really know what the song's about. I have no idea what the lyrics are saying, but I had a lot of fun doing the production of it just because it was something, I don't know, every project is something new to learn, but especially like when you're just completely switching genres. So it's still dancey, but it has like this reggaeton feel to it, which is a lot of fun to listen to. So it was just a different groove, just like different drums, different, adding some congos and like some other elements. And like I worked with some flamenco guitarists to help me with some of the guitar recordings, and the way it came together was really, really nice. So those are a couple tracks I'm going to put out. I just haven't decided exactly when, but January, February, most likely they'll be out. And then I'll probably, like I said, take a break from the electronic dancey stuff. And I mean, it'll still be electronic incorporated into it. But like I said, I love hip hop, I love rapping, and I really want to incorporate some of that into my tracks. So after I release these 3 or 4 tracks, then I'm gonna do a little pivot and aim at more hip hoppy electronic stuff. See how it turns out. I think it's pretty good. So I'm looking forward to putting it out and see how people receive it.
Nice, nice. Well, Alex, thank you so much for hopping on the show this morning and talking about I Want to Dance, as well as all the cool things that are on the way. Before I let you go, can you tell folks where they can find you?
Yeah, so my only form of social media at the moment is Instagram. So it'd be Alex Moye with 2 X's because Alex Moye was already taken. So it's ALEXX Moye, MOYE. Find me on SoundCloud, Spotify, all the major streaming services. If anybody wants to stay in touch with any of the music that I'm coming up with, either follow me on Instagram or follow me on Spotify. It notifies anybody who follows me anytime I have a track coming out, and there will be a handful of tracks coming out in the next couple weeks. So any of those major streaming services or Instagram is the best way to stay in touch with me.
Awesome stuff. Again, Alex, thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, host and co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. You can find us on Facebook, which is being live streamed now. However, we also do encore episodes of these live streams on YouTube. You can also find us on Twitter at Move and Shake UNLTD, on Instagram at Movers Shakers Unlimited, and of course, you can find me, Brandon Troy ENT, on Twitter and Brandon Troy _ENT on Instagram. Thanks so much, you guys, for watching. Be safe out there, and see you soon. Bye.